So I was just reading up at a Reactive guide.
Yes.
I've had a few trainers, it seems like, in like some programs. Currently on the e-collar.
Yes.
Yeah, 1900S.
Yes.
Okay. Got a baby coming in July.
Yes.
Okay, and of course you're trying to get all this behavioral stuff under wraps, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and fill me in.
Yeah, so really it's just with people, it's any like sudden movements out, it's like outside of her walking, if someone starts running when they were walking or comes around the corner, he'll blow up. He just seems like he has a lot of either just built up energy, anxiety. With dogs, he seems very excited to like always want to meet them, but then it's like sometimes it's half and sometimes a lot of times we don't even let him meet any dogs, but it's like
Puppies he's great with.
Yeah.
Older dogs, hit or miss. Pit bulls, he'll always react.
and he'll whimper and look like he'll want to go over and meet them, and he'll pull and he'll want to go see. But then if he's like with them, he'll like sometimes just get real stiff and his hackles will go up, and then it's like explosion. And that's outside. Inside in our home, it's like anyone who's not in his inner circle, which is basically me and Alex, her parents, her sister, and we have a dog walker that he likes. Anyone else, it's constant barking, growling. He has to be separated. We've tried to let him come up and meet people and sniff, and like sometimes it works out, but sometimes he'll blow up, and he's never at ease. Like even if you think he is, and we're all sitting at the table, and then if like everyone all stood up at the same time or did a motion that he wasn't expecting, he'll blow up. So he's never truly at ease. And I don't think our goal is to make him the most social dog that everyone can come over and give him belly rubs, but we just want to be able to, you know, if people are over and he's not comfortable, go lay in your crate and, you know, just peacefully be there without going barking, growling. And, you know, we don't need to bring everyone over there and, you know, be all over you, but just be able to calm down and not can always be on edge. He's pretty good with basic commands. He'll sit, he'll go down. He's crate trained. We say our keyword is little house. He'll trot off in there and he'll go in there and stay until we say let him out. He has a place that we'll say go to that. And so he's pretty good at that stuff. But it's the behavior side.
I'm just trying to get him to calm down. Like we don't know how to get him to be like people are here, it's not a big deal, just go chill, you know? Like he just never gets to that point. And I know that it's a lot of us because we're very anxious about it. But we need to figure out a way to like get him to just like, we got this, calm down, go chill. Like, it's fine. Yeah. So that's I think our biggest hurdle right now. Trying to figure that out.
Has he been around kids?
No.
When we go walkings, I think we've recently made a point to like not always cross the street whenever we see people, and we'll like walk by them. Kind of, you know, there's a sidewalk, we'll go off in the grass, and so he'll be like safely with us, and he'll go by them. And he doesn't get super close, but he's never really reacted towards kids. But you know, if a kid was walking, I mean, they make erratic moves too. So if a kid all of a sudden did a jumping jack or started sprinting like that, that could set him off too. We just haven't put ourselves in that situation.
Other questions or other things I should know about him?
I mean, I put in the whole redirect. He's had a couple of redirect bites. Outside of that, I don't think so.
And I think all of them there was no puncture. There was one where he broke skin, but kind of like scratched, I think it was.
He's broken skin, but I think it's hard to say. I don't think it's purposely trying to bite, but it's barking and thrashing around, and you know, now our legs are in the way, and he's got a big mouth, and he's barking, and it turns into a bite. I don't think it's a purposeful bite, but that's happened a couple times. And he does. he'll have lunging type behavior when we're outside, and if someone comes by that he sets him off, he'll lunge, and obviously we haven't let him go. I don't know that he's lunging to try and like bite or just like anxious and like, what are you doing here, and just reacting to that.
Do you use your e-collar for the behavioral stuff or just obedience?
Just, what was the second one?
Like, do you use the e-collar for the just obedience stuff, or do you use it for the behavioral stuff as well?
Behavioral.
Probably just behavioral.
How so?
Like if we're walking past the dog and we can see like his hackles are going up, he's starting to lock in, we use it to shift him out of it.
Okay.
I have a hard time with it because like when he's like blown up, it's like we're already past the e-collar even being useful. Like if he's in his blow-up mode and I'm just holding it down, it's like he's already gone.
Continuous?
Yeah.
Okay.
But then it's like, I don't know, I have to like catch him like way early before that, and so sometimes I might give him a little shock and maybe he was totally fine and he didn't need it, but then I feel like if I wait too long, then he's like past the point of no return and he's already gonna blow up, and nothing I do on the e-collar is gonna
Stop him.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the highest you've gone on the collar?
30.
30. We've been in the like 20 to 25, and we just recently went up to 30 because we weren't, it just seems like he was getting more and more just not responding to the low 20s. 30 so far, it kind of, if he's like locked in or staring, we do it, it kind of, knocks him out of his stare and he's fine. But again, if he was in the middle of a blow up, I could probably hold down 30 and he would continue to blow up for a while.
Okay. Yeah, your last trainer had recommended the collar. Did you just have one lesson, or did you have lessons with that trainer?
He came down 3 times, I think.
Okay.
But we didn't get the collar until the last time, because we were trying to prong collar for the first like 3 or 4 trainings, and I don't think we were using it all that well, and there were times where we were trying to do corrections with the prong collar, and he would kind of turn around and react to us and get mad that we were doing it. And so that's when he suggested the e-collar, but we only got the e-collar on the very last training, and so we didn't really have extensive training with the actual usage of the
Yeah,
e-collar.
that's a good point. We never, this guy, we went on one walk and Stewie like had him sit down when someone came by and had us use the e-collar to like knock him out of it. And then that was like the extent of it. And he was like, okay, he's done. Like, just keep doing that. So we just.
And that worked for a while.
Yeah.
Like, whenever his direction was, whenever we see a dog approaching, tell Stewie to go down and just remain calm and just let the dog pass by. And that worked for a while, but then it just seemed like that wore off, and there'd be times where he'd be down and then the dog would walk by and he'd kind of spring up and react. And so it just, it worked for a little while, and then, I assume, we're not masters of the e-collar, but, he would never just stay down all the time.
Was the continuous your trainer's idea, or is that something you just kind of started to experiment with?
His direction was to use the just single one, and if that wasn't working, then move to the continuous.
Gotcha.
So he said to always start with just the single, and then, which I usually do. I never do the continuous unless he's in like a blow up, and he'll blow up for a while, and then usually the stimulus kind of leaves, so it's kind of a mixture of the stimulus leaving and I guess us finally getting
So when we have people over, that's like, if he's separated, that's like what he does.
Sure, it's like a motor running.
Yeah, he's voicing his displeasure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. All right, so all that's good information. It sounds to me like you have a nervous dog.
Yes.
Yep.
So nervous energy, so we have fearful, anxious, and nervousness. Fear doesn't let things go. They'll just stay barking, and then if you move in, they'll run away, and then if you move out, they'll kind of come after you, but they'll kind of keep at bay, but they don't shut up. Anxious energy tends to want to move a lot. So that if you were to be anxious, you would be pacing, sitting, standing, laying down, and moving. Nervous energy will settle, but then when something changes, people stand up, there's a sudden door that opens, they trigger.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's standard nervous energy.
Okay.
So the whole people, the joggers thing, all that stuff, that's all nervous energy.
Yeah.
Okay. So which can be difficult because it kind of makes you feel on edge because you can't really plan for it because you could turn a corner and there's a dog, there's a person, there's a thing, right?
Yeah.
So you're on the right track with remote collar. Okay, so that's a plus. Because the main thing about the consultations is really just educating people on e-collar. Because there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that just kind of makes things easier. And when it comes to your last trainer, unfortunately, I'm assuming you did research on me and how I train, sure. So I use primarily prong e-collar, but really I just use e-collar, okay? Because it gets you off leash control immediately right off the bat.
Yeah.
But then also it's the most consistent tool for the owner.
Yeah.
Okay, prong collar takes a bit of technical skill.
Yeah.
A drawback to prong is that it's confrontational, so like when you said you corrected him, he'll come back, right? Is that that's normal in his world, because like let's say he were to correct a dog for like getting too close, that dog might correct him back.
Yeah.
And they'll go back and forth until even where a dog will get killed, because they're primal,
Yeah.
okay? So with the prong collar, when you administer the correction, if you've done a good correction, he's like, hey, don't do that, right? And he's snapping at you because that's what he's telling you. Technically, you have to correct him again, because now you're caught in a conversation.
Sure.
Okay. So for us, it doesn't make sense because we're taught not to be physical, right? We're taught to resolve things using words and communication and conversations, and if anything, call the police, right? But not in his world. In his world, dogs are all about physicality. Okay. So with the prong collar, it's a great tool. We call it power steering on a dog when done correctly, but it requires a bit of technical skill. 2, you get the confrontation. 3, if your dog is too far gone and you're trying to correct them, like you're not going to get anywhere. Okay, so I get quite a few dogs on the prong collar. So it's a great tool. I love it. We use it. We incorporate it, but I don't rely on it. Okay, I just go to e-collar.
Sure.
So like I had a young lady. She was like 90, 100 pounds, and she had 150-pound Great Dane. Okay, and he was dog reactive, and she lived in Bucktown. So yes, dogs everywhere, literally dragging her across the street.
Yeah.
So she did prong and e-collar, because if she turned a corner and was confronted by a dog, she needed to have immediate leverage. Okay, but the prong was just there for the leverage, where the e-collar was actually what did the shutdown and stopped the reactivity, to where she could just walk her dog, right? So I needed to compensate. We had a gentleman just a month ago. I trained his daughter's dog, and he came back, and he came for me to train his dog. The guy's like 78 years old, and he's got a 100-pound German Shepherd, who's also a dog and human reactive. So I have to make up for that gap, right?
Yeah.
Prong and e-collar, right? But for the most part, it's always e-collar, guaranteed, and then maybe we use prong, okay?
Yeah.
So the reason for this is, the good thing is you've only gone as high as 30. You have 97 more levels, okay? It's just how do we do that correctly, okay? So when we see these things, you're on the right track, but you don't have, I don't think, the right psychology behind the collar. Okay, so the first thing that we have to teach here, or we teach, is heel. Okay, did you guys ever learn the heel command?
Yes, and we do practice that in the house. It's not the best outside.
Right. We need that to be functional outside.
Yeah.
Everything that we cover, heel, sit, stay, down, come, place, is all meant to be functional. I don't care what the environment is. Okay.
Sure.
So the way most trainers teach heel is competition style, meaning for like an obedience ring where you're competing in front of other people and stuff. That doesn't really apply to the real world. Okay. The way that I teach is e-collar that you can easily recreate and practice right after you learn it. Okay. So all the stuff that we do, so we train at Oz Park currently because things have shifted. No, not to jump topics, but Oz Park is the busiest park in Chicago.
Yeah.
That's where we train. right? And it's there. We're getting results there. So maybe get results at Oz Park, and there's strollers, rollerbladers, bikers, dogs, off-leash dogs, people, bar mitzvah parties, baseball games, right?
Yeah.
It's literally in a jazz band that comes like on the weekdays. There's all this stuff going on, and it's functional.
Yeah.
Okay, it just requires the right psychology behind the e-collar. Okay, and unfortunately, not everybody that uses e-collar knows how to use it correctly.
Right.
So that's a big thing there. Okay, so we have to go back to the basics. Teach them what the e-collar is through the heal process. Okay, so what you're struggling with here is, you went recently from 20 to 25 to 30s, right? And now it's losing its effectiveness. We have 3 levels: connection, perception, and what we call working level. Okay, connection is if your dog is staring at a squirrel and you see this, but he doesn't care, right? He obviously feels the collar, but he doesn't care. He's too focused on the squirrel. Perception would be he feels it. He's kind of like, what was that? And he goes back to looking at the squirrel. What was that, right? Working level would be he feels a twitch and whoa. He breaks his attention. He goes, sorry, did you need me to do something? Yeah. Working level is a level that's concerning to the dog, that it's gonna make what we're teaching them important, because that's what's lacking. Okay, if it's not important, it's not gonna do it. Yeah. So growing up, I was raised old school. I was spanked, and for the most part, I was a straight A student. It's fine. I was a straight A student because my mom. The consequence was if you don't get straight A's, you get spanked. That's how that worked.
Yeah. Fair.
If I didn't do my chores, I got spanked. If I did something I wasn't supposed to do, I got spanked. Right? So negatives can be a motivator. They just have to be layered in correctly. Okay? And we do this all through the heal. Okay? Because heal resolves about 70 to 80% of problems, which is why that's the first thing that we always teach.
Okay.
Okay? So class 1 is always heal. I teach you to teach him. So I don't touch the dog. I don't need to touch the dog. I can coach you all through it. Okay? And I help you how to find the working number that when you come back for class 2, you're like, holy shit, Jesse, like 60-70% of reactivity is gone. Like we've seen nice strollers and stuff, and he's been great. You go, awesome. Now we have to make some tweaks, and we start adjusting things as we go along. But when done correctly, it can fix a majority of what you're dealing with, because a lot of stuff is on leash, right? The inside stuff with people coming in is a separate thing. Okay, that's a separate exercise. But all the on leash stuff is because the heel is not, he doesn't understand the conversation with e-collar correctly. Okay, now I'm not a fan of continuous. Okay, because I'm not that we don't use it, and not that it's a bad thing. It just doesn't allow your dog to think clearly. Okay, so when you're keeping the pressure on, and he's like this, there's no space for the brain to make a choice in response. So that's why I asked the teacher, the trainer, to use continuous, and he said, well, he said Nick first and then continuous, right? Yeah. We're a bit different. We do everything based off the Nick. Okay. The only time I've ever had to use continuous in 10 years, I mean, maybe like 20 times. Okay. Almost always in some kind of emergency situation. Dog took off towards the street, and you just need to override right away. Yeah. But other than that, it's very, very, very rare that we have to use continuous, because it's such a harsh correction the dog cannot process. They're more panicked, if anything. So we use the Nick function, because let's say he's staring at a dog, and you're at 30, and you tap him, and he looks at you, and he goes back to staring at the dog. And you tap him, he looks at you, he goes back to staring at the dog. And you tap him, he looks at you, he goes back to staring at the dog. Is 30 working? No. Right? We go to 35, go to 40, 45, and we start to go up. So eventually, maybe we hit 80, okay? And he gets, and maybe he gets kind of frustrated, right? And we get a redirect. We have to work through that if that's his MO, because what we tend to do is we go up on the collar, we feel like we made the situation worse, or like the dog redirects. So then we go, okay, crap, well, I'm not gonna go to 80 anymore because he redirected. But that's what he wanted. Does that make sense? Yeah. If he's like, hey, like when I redirected towards you, I no longer got 80. Is the power keeps on until he decides, like, oh, even redirecting isn't an option because the pressure stays on. And he backs off and he chills out. And he goes, oh, when I feel 80, it means don't bark at that dog, but also don't try to target you. Yeah. Okay, and we teach you how to do this stuff safely. It's part of the process, because if you try to work around things, it's always a problem. Yeah. And I want him to just learn we don't bark at joggers, at sudden things around the corner, at dogs. I don't redirect towards my owners if I get frustrated. Like, I just need to learn how to handle it, right? He doesn't have to like it.
Yeah.
He just has to handle it. Oh, there's a jogger going by, I don't like it, I'm gonna turn away and ignore it. I just did it, what's today, Tuesday? I have an in-home aggression case that I'm doing right now. It's a French Bulldog. It's been like 5 people. And when I came in, we were pressing him, and the owner was like, I think he's more protective when he's next to me. So I said, okay, sit on the couch, bring your dog up. And I'm literally standing, like, let's say facing you, facing me, and the dog was facing the other way. Okay, that's what we call avoidance behavior. The dog doesn't like me in the presence, but instead of staring and growling, right, he was like, I'm gonna just pretend that Jesse's not here, my son did it. Okay? At minimum, that's all I care about, is don't try to come after me if I'm in your personal space.
Yeah.
So like for humans, if you're in the store and you see someone you don't want to talk to, you go down a different aisle.
Right.
That's avoidance behavior, right?
Yeah.
So we have 4 responses to things: fight, flight, avoidance, submission. Okay, reactivity would be, of course, categorized in the fight response. We have to teach him that's not a valid response.
Yeah.
Since he's on the leash, that removes flight response. Okay, so now we have avoidance and submission. If we're going to get to submission, we always need avoidance first. Okay, and submission, or acceptance as I call it, is a dog goes, okay, I can't fight, I can't run away. I've done avoidance for a bit, but nothing bad's ever happened. What happens if I just like watch? Nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, so I can pass by a dog. I can see a dog walk past me. I can see a jogger run and not feel like I have to respond. Okay, but we need a number high enough that's going to deter him. Okay, so for humans, we have prisons and laws and jails and judges and all that stuff. There's different consequences for different misbehaviors, right? So if you go to Target and you steal like a Snickers bar, do you think you're going to prison? No. But if you go and rob a federal bank, probably going to federal prison, right? That's how that works. So it's the same thing for this guy. You just have to find where his correction levels lie, okay? And most trainers teach what we call low-level e-collar, where you're working at like stupid low levels like 8 and 10 and stuff, but then you're constantly jumping up to these extremes to correct behaviors. And it's frustrating for the dog because you're going from low to very high. And what I find is the middle ground. Okay, what's low enough that he's not gonna yelp and all that stuff, but high enough that it stops the behavior, but deters it the next time.
Yeah.
So like I did a new client yesterday, 8-month-old cream retriever puppy, friendliest dog. His number was 85 by the end of class.
Jeez. Okay.
He wasn't in any pain. He was smiling, his tail was up, his tail was wagging. And it actually, his number was actually a little bit higher still, but I had them start at 85. We worked our way up to that number. We started at 15, and by the end of class, we were at 85. And I told them, had we stayed at like 50 or 40 or whatever, their dog would have been going all over the place because there was all these things going on. But we had to match the dog in the environment. So people typically think, oh, my dog's so sweet. Like, you're not gonna need a lot of power. But temperament, size of dog, breed, none of that stuff matters when it comes to the resiliency to physicality. Okay, so you could have a dog that seemingly looks very tough, but could be very sensitive to the collar. Right. So that dog needed 85, but 25 could be his 85. You know, does that make sense? So I help you find these levels and explain them to you, so that when you go out into the real world, it's really just common sense and logic. It's all it is. Okay, and then we start confronting things. So I'll tell, once we get to a point where you feel like, okay, we have the tools and we're gonna just start going out and challenging this reactivity, is you already go into it knowing it's gonna suck. So it doesn't really impact you as if like you're having a good walk and he blows up and you weren't prepared for it. Does that make sense? Because you're just going head on, going, okay, cool, it's gonna be a rough week, but we have a methodology to build off of every single time. So there's gonna be a lot of failures, but we just build off of that. Because like I said earlier, if I'm tapping at 30 and he's still staring at the dog, why would I keep tapping at 30? 35, still staring at 40, still staring at 45, I just keep going up. So eventually I find the number that's gonna be his breaking point, and go, oh, 85, right? And I got a little bit of redirect, that's okay. Next time you see a dog, 85 already, right? And I prepare for the situation, but let's say there's no blow up, and you know, guaranteed there would have been a blow up, then I go, 85 not only stopped it last time, but prevented it this time. Right, and we just keep kind of working with things, and we just kind of figure it out as we go along. but it should feel pretty straightforward, okay? But the heel, the reason why that's so important is because that's what teaches him how pressure turns on and how it turns off, okay? So like I had a young lady, she did training with me, she had a Dutch Shepherd, she did the training herself, and her dog was yelping all over the place in a neurotic mess. And I was like, man, this dog is so screwed up. And then I realized, because I was giving her the instructions, I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, are you doing Nick or continuous? She's like, I'm doing continuous. I'm like, that's why your dog keeps jumping all over the place.
Yeah.
We switched it to Nick. We changed a few things. She came back the following week, the dog was so much calmer because he finally understood the conversation of e-collar.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's another thing. If layered incorrectly, we're going to build more frustration because to the dog it's too much of a variable. Like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
Okay, so once he understands the communication and you understand how to communicate with it, we just start building off all that stuff. Okay, so class 1, the foundation of heel. So real simple, basic, how to address reactivity stuff. Because I don't want to overwhelm you with info.
Yeah.
Come back class 2, how to go. It sucked, it was good, we're making progress, we're in the middle, but we're feeling good. Excellent. Let's make some tweaks, work on the second half of heel, because heel's a 2-part exercise. See you class 3, how are we doing? Jesse, even better, but when we turn the corners, it's still a problem. I go, that's expected, because reactivity is a spectrum. Human reactivity is almost always the first thing that goes away, okay? Then it's reactivity towards calm dogs. Excited puppy type energy tends to be in the middle. Other reactive dogs and then sudden run-ins with dogs are at the end of the spectrum, okay? Because if you see another reactive dog, they're putting out a threat.
Yeah.
He's just going back at it, right?
Yeah.
If you turn the corner and see a dog, like you can't plan for that,
Yeah.
right? So then you're caught off surprise. So those things typically take longer. So if all the first half is done, I go, great. This is going like it normally goes. We're doing just fine,
Yeah.
okay? If I get a case where something is off, like I like when the owner tells me stuff, I can tell because I'm just like, okay, this is not the usual, so something's wrong.
Yeah.
Usually the number is too low on the collar for the owner, or they're not. They feel bad and they're trying to give the dog the opportunity to be a good dog and avoid the hit. But you have to use every opportunity to make him be a good dog.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's not gonna one day wake up and think like, you know what, I feel really bad for making their life so stressed out. You know, they got a baby coming, so I'm gonna want to change my ways, right?
Yeah.
He goes by what you give him. So if you're giving him firm consequence that he understands, and structure and consistency, he's gonna give you that right back.
Yeah.
Okay, so the leash reactivity stuff, I feel like is the easiest part, in my opinion, okay? By class 3, we should be prepped to go into the people coming into the home part,
Okay.
okay? Like you mentioned earlier, you know, hey, we got this, relax, okay? But that's done through communication, not obedience, okay? So let's say you send him to place, and he places. That is a mechanical response. The body is on place, but the brain is stuck in territorial mode, right? The grumbling, the growling, the barking, whatever. And then you open the door and potentially he charges, right? Because he's still overwhelmed with territorial behavior, okay? So behavior and obedience are different things. They don't overlap and then they overlap, okay? So what I mean by that is obedience is physical control, behavior is mental control, okay? Behavior always comes first in my book because that's the stuff that gets dogs returned, essentially. If someone has the friendliest dog and they don't jump on people, they don't bark a whole lot, they're not aggressive and they're social with dogs and people, like they don't really care about the sit, stay down, come stuff. They're like, this dog is so easy, right? That's behavior, okay? So obedience gives you control. We call it preventative control. So like the place command is preventative, right? If your dog is on place and really respects place, it doesn't matter who comes in, he's not gonna leave it. But mentally, he can still be tense, right? So the way we teach the cool off and relax part is you have to bully him back, okay? Because that's what he's doing. He's going, this is my family, this is my home, and you're not welcome here. If you're not part of my 4, you're not welcome here, right? So then what you're doing is, because he's claiming the space, so then you have to talk back to him and go like, no, this is our home. Thanks for letting us know, but you need to back off and go chill out, okay? We shut the brain down, meaning we turn off territorial mindset. At that point, we should get more passiveness that technically you could place him, okay? But then we start to go into a different realm. So if and you kind of touched on this earlier, if the goal is just like, we just need him as chill as possible, and that's it, and he minds his own business, that makes our lives a lot easier, okay? If a goal is, we would like to get him to open up to people and like build his circle. And the people I care about are the people that you would care about, your family and your friends that you would see on a regular basis, because they're realistic, right? Anybody else, like it's the first time, your friend comes over from work or something, and it's the only time they come over, doesn't really matter, right? That makes things a little bit more complicated. We have exercises for that. That takes more time, okay? And it's not like more time with me, it's I teach you how to do it, and you just do it, okay? Because the exercises are simple. It's just a matter of repeating and exposing him, because when we get a dog like this, we tend to withdraw, right? Yeah. We don't go out as much, or we don't have people come over because we don't want to have to deal with this, right?
I'd say our first goal is that just be chill and allow people in the house. But like, for example, he loves Alex's parents because he's been around them all the time since he was young. My parents live out of state in Minnesota and come over 2, 3, 4 times a year, but is not connected with them, barks, growls. So, I mean, if he's chill and just can coexist, awesome. But a secondary goal could be, would he ever be able to like let those people into it? Not the one friend that comes over once in a blue moon, but like, if it's possible to make his circle a little bit bigger, that could be a potential goal too.
Yeah, and again, the people that matter, like your parents, right? You wouldn't want your parents coming over and then not being comfortable, right? And then you not being comfortable because you got your dog over here and growling and all that stuff.
Yeah,
okay?
Exactly. Yeah.
So we have things to work on that, so that's not a problem either, okay? So the way that I approach stuff is I look at the case, kind of assess things. I teach what's gonna matter. The other stuff is just kind of icing on the cake, okay? So this, for me, is not out of the ordinary. I deal with this kind of stuff all the time. I think with what you're dealing with, the most complicated part is simply going to be the people coming over, people in the home. That's it. Okay. I think the leash stuff is going to be much easier.
And we've seen with the leash stuff, just not to toot our own horn, but to toot our own horn a little bit. I feel like before quarantine, it was way worse. Like we had reactivity constantly, and now I think it's better,
Just
not
better.
great, but
there's a lot of room for
better.
improvement.
So I think that makes sense.
So the reactivity stuff, I would expect by class 2 to 3, we got a good chunk of it done. Okay. Then it's just a matter of keep repeating.
So with the training, if I can ask a question, like with the heel stuff, like is it just anytime we communicate we're using the collar, or is it like we start out verbally communicating and then if he doesn't listen, then
purely collar?
Purely collar.
Yeah, because your dog's physical.
Yeah.
Right. So we tend to use sound to try to control, but dogs don't do that, right? Like they use sound to a degree, growling, barking, grumbling, and stuff like that. But if you were to go to the dog park and a dog charged them, he would just bite at them. Right? He would just say like, hey, I found that very disrespectful. Don't charge me. Right?
Yeah.
So this here is a dog bite. Okay, this is 10 stitches. Okay, this dog bit me because he didn't want to go to kennel. That was it. Okay, and he comes to daycare, he comes to boarding, he's a big doof, or goof. Friendly dog, social dog. It was a Great Dane, so gentle giants, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't want to go in kennel. That was it. He didn't sit there and go, hey Jesse, like, this makes me uncomfortable. I've never been in a kennel before. Would you please like not do that? Could you take it slower with me? Like we can have that conversation. Like literally just like try to put him in. There we go. So that's dog. So that's what holds a lot of trainers back, is they're training dogs like a human would learn. And I train dogs the way dogs learn.
Yeah.
So if you watch any and all my videos on YouTube, right, they're completely uncut, unedited, unless it's like one where I'm talking. You see it from beginning to end, how it works. And by the end of the class, I'll almost always get the result I'm looking for. The exception being if I'm dealing with an extreme case. That's gonna be a lot more work, but I still get the result for that day. It's just they're gonna take longer. So if you go and you watch like any lesson 1 video, lesson 1s are always great to watch because no one knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, and you see the craziness in the beginning, and at the end of the class, you see the dog walking at the owner's hip, nice and passive. Okay, because I kick him with pressure, biting, nip. Think of the e-collar as a bite on a button.
Yeah.
Just nipping and biting at him because that's what he needs.
So does he know it's us commanding him, or does he think some invisible force? So I wonder, like, will that translate into, oh, we're the alpha because we're telling him what to do, or does he think some invisible force is telling him what to do, and he still may or not respect us as the alpha?
He still respects you in an indirect way. Okay, so how this works is, let's say I tell him place, and I start remoting him. I just put him under pressure immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a concerning number, and he just shoots his butt there, right? He's like, holy crap. What he thinks is when you say that word, this invisible force kicks in and doesn't turn off until I go here. And if I go here faster, I can beat it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what essentially empowers you. But he doesn't necessarily know that it's you manipulating the collar to control him.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess I'm just like, then how does that translate into him eventually seeing us as like the alpha? Because we think maybe some of it is him too trying to assume the alpha role and protecting the house,
Mm-hmm.
and not being able to be like, oh, Alex and Dave, you guys are the alpha, I'll
Right.
just follow your leader.
So the easiest way to explain that would be, do you guys drive?
Yeah.
Do you go on the expressway?
Yeah.
Do you go the speed limit?
Sometimes over.
Most people speed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You see a squad car, what happens?
Slow down.
Slow down.
Yeah. Think of your e-collar as a cop on a collar. Okay? So what you're saying is, I want the dog to respect me to the degree where I don't need a tool. It's kind of like what I'm picking up, right?
Yeah.
Realistically speaking, that doesn't really happen. Okay? It doesn't even happen amongst humans.
Yeah.
And it's a very common thought process. Hey Jesse, when is the dog going to be a good dog and I don't need the e-collar anymore, right? When is the dog going to respect me where I only have to say things and they just do it? I'm like, but not even humans do that.
Yeah.
And we know better, right? I know not to go past 70 on the expressway, but I still went 80 this morning,
Yeah.
right? Unless I see a squad car. So it's called opportunistic behavior, okay? So it's survival instinct, it's in all animals. So if there's a pond of water and there's an alligator in it, and the animals know, they won't drink the water. The alligator leaves, they come in, they drink the water, alligator comes back, they leave.
Yeah.
Because now the threat is gone and has come back.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So think of the e-collar as that. If you're a cop on a collar, he goes, hey, that threat of physical consequences here. Now the difference between dogs is their threat of consequence is right here.
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
So for us, because our correctional tool is external, it's like we're dependent on it to a degree. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what this means is when you need your collar, it would be present on the walks, obviously, if you were to ever take them off leash, when guests come over.
Yeah.
Anytime you feel like we're gonna need that collar. Maybe when the baby first comes home, because you're not sure how he's gonna respond.
Yeah.
Collar is on, right? Because you have a means of control and he knows threat of consequence. So yes, you'll find when the collar is on, your dogs will behave differently. It's nothing to do with my skills as a trainer, the methodology, it's simply just opportunistic behavior.
Yep.
And I think it's funny when trainers argue, because trainers like myself will tell positive only trainers, well, your dog only listens with food. And then trainers like them will say, well, your dog only listens with the collar on. And it goes the same both ways. If you remove the motivator, whether it's negative or positive, performance will always dip.
Right.
Right? So like, would you continue to go to work if they didn't pay you? No, not right. And then same thing for the laws and the stuff that we have as humans. If there weren't cops and prisons and jails to reinforce that, do you think people would still live the way they do now? Right?
No.
That's why, like in the shows where it's like the end of the world, it's like anarchy.
Yeah.
And then there's people trying to like regain a sense of normalcy with structure,
Yeah.
right? So that's just the realistic explanation of it.
Yeah.
But it's nothing good or bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's when you have it, when you need it, you have it.
Yeah.
And like, let's say, because this does happen, but let's say your dog for the first 15 minutes when somebody comes over, you need to chill him out, but then he actually turns around and he's calm and he's fine, and you feel like I don't need it anymore, take it off.
Yeah.
You know, I've had I've had clients move past the collar with guests coming over. I've had clients have it on in the beginning and then take it off once the dog calms down. And I get other cases that are more extreme where it's like, yeah, that dog's collared up no matter what.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, that's all just part of the process.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. The other thing is, I think you noted it in your form, but you have passive energies, correct?
Yes.
Sorry, what?
Passive
We're
personality.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have a dog who's an 8 and you guys are 6s in terms of hierarchy, there's nothing that's going to change that unless you yourself decide, hey, we're going to be a 9 or 10 now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's why when it comes to that stuff, like it's what I call like closing the gap, which is nice about e-collar, because even if I do have a passive personality, as long as that owner is willing to go to the level needed to correct the dog consistently, that will bridge the gap.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's how dogs actually achieve hierarchy. Is if you were to leave a bunch of dogs together, they would nip, bite each other, and dominate, and like bully each other until they come up with like the list of who's top dog and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Humans technically do that too. If you put a bunch of kids in a room, you'll start to see them bully each other.
Yeah.
Until at some point there's a hierarchy.
Yeah.
You know. So, but what's great about humans is that we can change. And I think for you guys, when you find the right mindset and methodology and you get the successes,
Yeah.
you're gonna start seeing yourself be more assertive.
Yeah.
Because that's a big thing there. When you have you're on the right track, you have the right tool, but you just don't have the right psychology yet, right?
Yeah.
Is that you're not seeing successes, so it's hard to gain confidence if you don't have successes.
Yeah.
Okay?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was gonna agree. I mean, it's like we have little successes, but then it's like there's a blow up, and then I just get frustrated. Like, well, I just went a good walk out the window because we had a couple blow ups, and
Sure.
we didn't learn anything.
And it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Just put that in your head. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I had a client, it was a really reactive dog. She used to go down 20-something flights of stairs to avoid the elevator. Okay? She used to go up to 3 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning type of deal, avoid dogs. Okay? And within 2 to 3 classes, we had reactivity done. She was on the elevator.
Oh, wow.
And then we did 9 classes. By the 9th class, I knew her dog was, I was like, you've done a great job. Like, she just went gung-ho with the homework, right?
Yeah.
Because she was getting successes.
Yeah.
But by the end of the program, I remember her telling me, she's like, Jesse, she's like, I'm so happy with all the progress I made, but I would never trust this dog off leash, and I would never bring this dog around other dogs. And I was like, in my opinion, your dog isn't really capable, but I respect that because that's your dog at the end of the day,
Yeah.
right? I saw her a year later. I used to have pack walks in Lakeview, and she came and just surprised me. She had her dog off leash,
Okay.
and then she came up and said, Jesse, Abbott has made friends now.
Oh.
Yeah, right. But it took her longer than the 9 classes with me to continue practicing, having more successes, and seeing like, wow, like I actually have much more than I thought I did.
Yeah.
So the human has to catch up to the dog,
Yeah.
right? Because I can get the dog to progress pretty quick.
Yeah.
But then it's getting the human, because if you've had negative experiences, if you had failures, or if there's like a blow up, and it's just, everybody's recovery from negative experiences is going to be different, you just have to play catch up.
Yeah.
Okay, but this stuff is for the most part pretty straightforward. I'm not trying to be mean to your dog, but if your dog needs 85 to like cut the crap and behave, I'm going to 85.
Yeah.
That's what makes me an effective trainer, is I don't come in going by what you're comfortable with and what I'm comfortable with. I go by, we need that dog to get his shit together,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna make it happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, questions so far about any of this stuff?
I don't think so.
No, I think this is all making sense.
When it comes to length of time, you have a few options. So I have 3, 6, 9, and 12-week programs. The 3-week program is I just want to walk my dog in peace. Okay, you're more like in the 6+ program range. If you did 6, the first 2 on heel. Okay, the third on people coming into the home, which leaves us 3 as a variable. Okay, because I focus on what I know you're going to need. Okay. The reactivity should be pretty straightforward. I mean, every now and then I do get a case that's like an outlier, but for the most part, reactivity is like 95% of the time, pretty straightforward. Okay. By the 3rd class, we do the door exercise stuff. Then you have to start having people come over. The only way to know how is this going to work and if it is working is to apply it.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you, like I had a gentleman, his dog used to be social, COVID happened, his dog became antisocial, dog bit a few people. okay? Class 3, we did the door exercise stuff, and for the week, he just drilled it out. He had all these people come over. By the 4th class, I showed up, he was like, Jesse, it's amazing. He's like, he was going up to people, he was licking their hands, he was super friendly with them. I go, great, because his dog was already social.
Yeah.
He just lost his way because of quarantine, okay? So once we got the dog back, he saw his old dog again,
Yeah.
okay? So then I go, okay, cool, like, I fixed all the stuff you wanted through reactivity and the people coming in. So now we're spending the rest of the program just building more control obedience-wise, because he decided to do 12 classes, okay? So he would have been fine with the 6, but he wanted complete control. So by the 3rd class, that's really where we start to see like where are we going to fall for classes 4 to 6, okay? If you know you feel good with things, but you want to like maybe rehearse me coming over again to like with handling his reactivity, the territorial behavior, or you want to learn a socialization exercise where it's easy to back him up and keep him passive, but then the hard part is, well, how do we get him to socialize with people safely and build that relationship?
Yeah.
That could be like class 4, right? But then again, you have to practice these things.
Yeah.
Now, you just need to learn the skill and how to apply it correctly. Don't put yourself on the timeline, because there is no timeline.
Yeah.
Okay? If your parents come over 2 to 3 times a year, it might be a couple of years before he finally opens up to them.
Sure.
Right? So stuff like that, you know, that's just how that works. But if you have a friend that like would normally come over, but then you had stopped coming over on a regular basis, bringing that person back, more likely he would warm up to that person more quickly.
Yeah.
At least, you know, on a regular basis.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
By the end of class 4, if everything's looking good, classes 5 and 6 can be recall. If he doesn't have a solid recall, which would be the common call, so then you would have the ability to take your dog and run him around and not worry about is your dog going to run away. I know maybe for you guys you might think like, I don't know if you do that because our dog's reactive and stuff. But e-collar done correctly gives you the highest ceiling in terms of success. It's just a matter of how far do you want to take it.
Yeah.
Okay? Now if you go, we'll never take him off the leash, we don't want recall, but we want like better stationary control, like the place command where he won't move for 3 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
I can teach you how to achieve that level of training, okay? Classes with 9 to 12 classes would be more time on behavior stuff if there happens to be a gray area. Otherwise, we would just teach more control in terms of the obedience, okay? Questions?
I mean, are these classes supposed to be like every week? Because obviously we have a pretty
Yeah, I know. So that's the other tricky part is depending on availability, I'm booked going into July,
Okay.
okay? And I think you're due in July.
First week of July.
First week of July, yeah. So were you trying to get this done before the baby, or are you just trying to get this started so that, you know?
Just want to
Just
get it
started.
started because I mean we already have family wanting to come up to meet the baby, and
Yeah.
this is just causing. I mean, the big cause of all of this is his parents came up a couple weeks ago, and it just was not a good situation with
Sure.
him, and basically, yeah,
There was
We just need
a
to-
mini lunging incident. He had a muzzle on. We had just a bad meeting. No one got bit, but we let him out when he wasn't calm. He had a muzzle on and kind of reacted, and we just shoo him away, and just it was not a good situation.
no, it was just a confidence breaker, and
Yeah.
just now thinking with the kid, I think that just freaked us out. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
but no, I understand you're booked. Obviously, we're going to be busy soon, so
Sure.
that's fine. We just want to get the tools and learn.
Okay, cool, because that makes sense.
Yeah.
I get quite a few clients where the baby's doing like, oh, they're scrambling, you know?
Oh,
So that's why I was like, oh,
no, no,
okay,
no,
very
no,
cool.
no, no.
That makes
No.
things
I
easier.
mean, we know it's going to be a journey and a process.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I just don't want to like have us start now and then like the baby comes and we need a couple weeks between, and then that kind of is
Sure.
a detriment.
No, it wouldn't be.
Okay.
The way I teach e-collar, like I've had clients start their first class, and then I don't see them for a couple weeks because they have a rotating schedule, and they just come back with more information.
Yeah.
Because the way I teach, like, it's functional day one.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, are you going to where you need to go to make him comply?
Sure.
That is the biggest thing that holds people back. Is, you know, let's say for instance that golden retriever, the cream retriever from earlier.
Mhm.
I coached them through it. We ended at 85. Let's say I see them next week and they're like, "Oh, Jesse, he wasn't as good as the first day when you trained him." The first thing I'm gonna ask is, "Where was your collar at?" They're gonna say 50. I go, "Oh, well that's why your dog wasn't listening, because first class he was at 85 and you're 35 levels short."
Yeah.
Right? So it's almost always literally the power that people struggle with. Okay.
Mhm.
So once you get comfortable with that, and it's not we're just assuming and maxing out the collar. There is a process to it. Okay,
Yeah.
It's very logical, makes a lot of sense. So when you get there, you're like, oh, okay, I see why this is why we're here at this
Yeah.
number.
I mean,
Okay.
it makes me feel better that you're anti the continuous, because I just don't think that works, and it just doesn't do anything to serve him.
Yeah, it just puts more stress on the
Yeah.
dog. Yeah. Continuous would come in like, you know, he gets out the front door and he's running towards the street and it's like, crap, we need to override
Right.
now, you know? So he's already muzzle conditioned.
Yeah, he doesn't love it. Like we went to the vet the other day. He's muzzled when he goes there. He tolerates it.
He'll do it.
He'll paw a little bit, but then I'll just tell him to stop, and he'll do it. He'll usually just sit there and he'll have it on.
Okay, that makes life a lot easier. What I would suggest to make life even more easy is you traditionally muzzle condition them. If you've already started, or if that's what you did before, I would just come back and continue it. Because you want to see the muzzle as a stressor, okay? E-collar is a stressor, and your guest coming into the home is a stressor, right? So that's 3 stressors going on at one time. It can just kind of inflate the situation. If we can even just remove one of those things like the muzzle, and by that point the e-collar should be conditioned correctly, that it's not a stressor in the sense of like, I don't know how this works, that it just leaves really the guest, okay? So muzzle conditioning is easy, because he puts his mouth in the muzzle, food, treat, whatever it is, okay? And we have videos we can send you. You can contact Maria, she'll send you a link. We have videos that we've done, and we have videos that we recommend from other trainers, okay? And you can do it when you have a chance. You know, if I'm not gonna see you for a couple of months with the baby and everything coming, just take advantage of that time. It's a simple thing to do, very easy to do, so that's when you come back and we're at the stage of like, hey, we're gonna have people come over, the muzzle's the last thing we have to worry about,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Other questions?
The muzzle we use is a cloth one. Do you prefer the basket ones?
Yes.
Okay.
Baskerville, you get them on Amazon like 25, 35-ish bucks sometimes. It's a hard rubber muzzle. You want to get the Baskerville brand. You don't want to get there's like another brand that Amazon has, you know. It's a soft muzzle, and I've had a couple clients get it, and the dogs destroy it within like a week. Okay. Yeah, the Baskerville is the brand that we use here. We recommend. You can start the muzzle conditioning with the muzzle you have, because it's still a muzzle.
Yeah.
And then you would just, when you get your the Baskerville one or the basket style one, then you would just switch muzzles and practice with that.
Okay.
The last thing I'll touch on is how much does your dog weigh?
40 pounds.
40 pounds.
50?
Somewhere between
40
and
to
50.
50.
Okay. I'm not a fan of the 1900S.
Okay.
Okay. It's meant for 35-pound dogs and under, for one. 2, we have them here. I have like 5 of them that I don't sell because we found that they make dogs more reactive.
Cool.
Is that, you're talking about
Great.
the e-collar?
That brand, yeah, that model. I love Dogtra. Dogtra is the best brand in my opinion. It's the brand that we buy and sell. But I literally have 5 1900S editions. And anytime we use them with dogs, we find that they're very reactive in the sense of like, they're barking in response to the collar, they're getting frustrated. And then as soon as we switch them to a different model, they're fine. Okay.
What's the difference between the other models? Is it?
My theory is the delivery. Okay, so like there's another brand called E-Collar Technologies. It's a good brand. It's like the second best in my opinion compared to Dogtra. And I used to use them a long time ago when I first started, like 10 years ago. And I had like 5 aggression cases, and all the aggression cases were not getting better. So I was like, let me try Dogtra.
Yeah.
And I tried the Dogtra edition, and it made a world of a difference. So ever since then, I've not looked back. Every now and then I get a client that's on that model of e-collar, and if I find it's appropriate to the dog, I'll tell them, sure, we can start off with it because I know it's a good collar.
Yeah.
But then I'll forewarn them, like, but this is what I've seen. If it's a behavioral case, I for sure don't even bother with it. I just tell them get a Dogtra. The model that I would put them on it's funny because it's the 1900, but it's called the Black Edition. Okay, it's the newest model that's come out. It's meant for 70-pound dogs and over, which means it's higher output. It's perfectly safe to use. I could use it on my 8-pound Chihuahua. Okay, the reason why I would suggest that, one, we already have issues with the 1900 ourselves. Okay, and this is even with friendly social dogs. Okay, is the Black Edition is the highest output collar. So you want to think in a scenario where, because we have not challenged them yet, not challenged them, right? Is that we've had dogs where the collar is not the appropriate to their size or their behavioral issue that they'll override the collar. Okay, so we can be maxed out continuous and the dog does not care.
Yeah.
Okay, and this, it's super rare, but it can happen. So with that collar, you wouldn't have to worry about that, in my opinion. It's more than enough power. All it means is you get more from less.
Yeah.
So here, let's say his collar, his level was like 90. On the black edition, it could be like 40. Okay, because the way it's being delivered is a little bit stronger, so it gives you a bit more window. Okay, you're welcome to use this one because it is a dog collar, but that's just from personal experience, something that we've learned.
Is it the same? Does it look the same?
Yes.
Because we find with this that it falls down to like his neck or his.
Sure, because it's not fitted correctly. Yeah, then we would help you with that too.
Okay.
It should be fitted very snug where it'll keep in the pocket and not move.
Okay.
Okay, so we don't go by the 2-finger rule or whatever for the collar, we go by the actual box. So it should fit very snug where most people feel like, oh my God, this is too tight. And I usually tell them that sounds about right. Okay, because the 2 probes have to get through the fur.
Yeah.
Plus with the head or the neck, if you ever feel in there, if he turns his neck, you'll see where you'll get pockets. So if he moves and there's no contact, you got nothing, you keep going up and all of a sudden he does this and now you're at 90 and then he feels like a power at 90.
Yeah.
Okay, so we would show you how to fit that correctly. But that would be my suggestion. I don't care where, if you decide to upgrade your collar, I don't care where you get it from. You can get them on Amazon or whatever. But that would be my word of advice there.
Okay.
Otherwise, you could start with this, see what we get with it. Only drawback would be, you know, if we have a couple lessons and we're still struggling, the first thing I'm going to turn to is that collar.
Yeah.
And if you replace it, then you've kind of lost a couple of classes there.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you like the slip leash to go with the collar?
I think you're fine with it. What would really dictate that is just how we progress with the reactivity stuff. Because the other thing I got to think about is like you're going to be pushing a stroller, right? So having a prong paired with this would be nice because it gives you that leverage where if he did try to pull for whatever reason, he's not going to have more leverage over you. You would have more over him.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're perfectly safe to use together, prong and remote collar.
Yeah.
You would just have the prong would be up here like where your e-collar is, and then your e-collar would be fitted just below it. Okay, the way you have your setup here, you would actually want to have your slip above your e-collar. Okay, because that gives you the most control.
That's
Okay.
like literally not what we were told by the last guy.
Yeah, well,
Flipped.
a lot of trainers suck. Yeah, so anytime you put anything on a dog, leash-wise, like here if you see us walking dogs and stuff, you'll always see it all the way up here.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever watched Caesar Milan, the dog whisperer?
Yes.
All the way up
Yeah,
here.
and that's what we thought with this slip collar to try and get it all the way up, and that's why I have the e-collar all the way up there, but.
Yeah, so
clearly
that
it
e-collar,
falls.
you're correct, but your slip would go just above it,
Okay.
right? So there's only gonna be a little bit of a gap there.
Yeah.
And if you find that your e-collar is slipping down, it's because it's fitted loosely.
Yeah.
It could probably be like a notch or 2 tighter, and what you'll find is he can even scratch at it and it doesn't budge. That's how you know it's fitted correctly.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions?
No, I
do you have an initial impression of it?
Definitely nervous dog,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But nothing
I see
out of
this
the
on
ordinary
the,
that you haven't.
yeah, no, I mean, I did a consultation yesterday where the dog bit the owner's 2 kids. You know, so like things can get pretty ugly.
I get extra worried with him just given that he's a pit bull breed and like his blow up, I think it could be a lot more dangerous than, you know, if another small dog had a mild blow up. That's what makes me extra nervous about his blow ups.
The good thing is he's not that big.
Yeah.
You know, you have a medium large dog as
Yeah.
opposed, like, you know, like the gentleman that's 70 years old. He's got a 100-pound German Shepherd.
Yeah.
I'm like, why didn't you just get the 10-pound Maltese? You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I get some, you know, like the young lady with the Great Dane because the assumption is gentle giant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now she's stuck with a dog that's 1.5 times her size.
Right.
You know, so when I come in, I don't judge. My job is to get the results, right? And as long as the owner's willing to use the tools necessary, follow the instructions. You know, sometimes you have to go through some hard places. You know, we'll get the result.
Yeah.
If you want examples, you can go to my YouTube channel. Doug is a good one. he is a very intense case that I'm working on right now. I have a sleeve that allows me to touch the dogs so if they bite me, it protects me.
Yeah.
And one of his triggers was me hitting the ground with a sleeve. We could not get him to stop attacking me, okay, or attempting to attack me. So finally, I think that was like class 4 or 5, where I was like, okay, we're gonna have to go for the big boy, because clearly he has a problem with it still. And I was literally on 127 continuous for about 5 minutes before he finally backed off. But then after I got that done, the next time I saw him, his number was like 60 to stop him. Because what happens is when the brain kicks into aggression and you're trying to override with pressure, the dog, because dogs are physically tough. It's in the animal kingdom, it's weakness to show, it can, what's the word? Life or death to show weakness, right? So if you see a dog with a broken leg, they try to hide it. They don't even whimper really, So with Doug, he was under a lot of stress. He clearly hated me smacking the ground with the sleeve. And the lady was like, is this normal? I was like, no. I was like, but I'm gonna get it. Because the brain can only stay in that state for so long. Right? It's kind of like being angry. You can only be angry for so long before finally it just starts to subside, right? So I just kept the pressure on until eventually he's like, I can't do this anymore. And pressure started to seep in and he finally backed off the pressure. So what he needed to learn was just how to still be sensitive to the collar even when he was in that escalated state. So he's a good one to watch. And then Lucy is a fear aggression case that I'm working on right now, who's definitely up there in terms of her fear aggression, but she's been making steady progress. And these are videos that you can just literally go to my YouTube and search and you'll see them.
I would say his big glove right now is skateboarders outside.
Sure.
His biggest, he had a massive blow up. So if we'll know we're doing something right if we can keep him calm when a skateboarder's coming by.
Okay, but knowing that's where you would expect to have the most difficulty, But other than that, it should be pretty straightforward. The muzzle, please, muzzle condition, because if you start going into the higher range, you want to start thinking about the redirection. So we might need muzzle that would help keep, just remove one thing off your mind. 2, if we're gonna try to socialize them and expand that bubble, definitely gonna need it there. Because if you're like, hey, pet my dog, I know what your dog is like. Right? The last thing is, and don't get paranoid about this is just as FYI, is throughout the years, I've had many families, have kids, bring the baby home, and then there's some kind of behavioral shift with the dog. Some dogs stay the same. Some dogs get very territorial. I've had dogs get territorial with baby against the owners. I've had dogs get territorial with the owners against the baby. I've had dogs get very territorial over the immediate family, which he's already like, right? Then it gets even more heightened. I've had dogs that were seemingly completely stable dogs, and then the baby came, and now they're reactive. I've heard all sorts of things. So my word of advice to you would be, don't worry about dog reading baby. It's just coexistence. Okay, that's it. Don't try to. I don't think you guys are, but like the Instagram pictures and type of shit, where people put their baby with the dog. If you see like growling and stuff in the beginning, not uncommon, especially around the crawling and the walking phase, because puppies mature very quickly, right? Within 8 weeks, they're running around and romping around, right? Whereas humans mature very slowly. So not uncommon where an owner will see that the dog is growling at their child trying to crawl. Okay, it doesn't mean aggression, it's just uncertainty. Okay, and you got a nervous dog already. Is typically when that happens, I'll just tell them they coexist, they don't interact, and then by the time the kid's old enough to recognize gentle and be able to pet the dog's grown up with the child for a few years if they don't even care anymore.
No, that's definitely our goal.
Okay.
Just coexistence.
Anything else?
This behavior where he's going under my legs or putting his head on our foot, is that something we should not be allowing?
I don't think he's really trying to guard here. I think he was just shifting position. Because he's not eyeballing me or anything. He's in a relaxed state. Maybe trying to seek comfort in an unknown environment. But
I get nervous if he's guarding us sometimes, the way he's sitting or crouched on.
But I guess if he was guarding, he would be looking at you a little more.
Exactly. There'd be a bit more tension. Or if I'm let's say I got up and moved in into your space, you could shift to guarding mode.
Yeah.
You know, but at least right now, I think he just happened to put himself between your legs because maybe he likes to just go there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, I guess what do you think of next steps?
So Maria will get in contact with you.
Okay.
She'll kind of reiterate everything that I said. You know, if you know, baby's coming on stuff, and then book at a future date makes everybody's life a lot easier because I'm booked anyways.
Yeah.
Definitely want to book sooner rather than later because it's first come, first serve.
Yeah.
So please give her about 5 to 7 business turnaround days, whatever, because you guys were in line for your consultation, right? And then since you've had your consultation, you come back into the line, and there's other consultations, onboarding clients, and then current clients. So then it's kind of like you're waiting in the queue again.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you know, like, hey, we want to get started, you could yourself send her an email and say, hey, Maria, when you get a chance, we're good to go. Send us what we need.
Okay.
She'll send you the contract form and all that stuff. And then if you send her your availability, because we go by your calendar, because my calendar changes all the time.
Sure.
You know, because people will be like, oh, 2 o'clock on Fridays. We're like, you know, Jesse has 40 clients, right? So, but if you give us like open times, like, hey, Monday between this window and Friday at this window, it makes things a lot easier for us.
Yeah.
Because then she could just cross-reference, you know, skip ahead, cross-reference, go, okay, great, like 5 o'clock on Fridays works or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Other than that, I mean, it's pretty much it. She'll give you the make and model of the collar that I recommend.
Okay.
If you decide to get them on Amazon, please do test out your collar, read the manual, mess with it, make sure that it's functioning. You can even start using it and maybe want to dabble with new numbers, just to make sure that it is because every now and then they'll set the lemon because it's electric.
Yeah.
You know, so a lemon would be like on the collar, you'd go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a lemon would go like 1, 2, 30. It's the slightest little touch will bring it all over the place.
Sure.
Okay, and you'll see the numbers kind of jumping around. Send it back, return it, get a new one.
Yeah.
This way you're good to go for your lesson whenever that is.
Okay.
So then, if our first lesson is say a month from now, or later on, is there any homework that we could start with ourselves between now and then, or besides getting
Muzzle conditioning?
Okay.
Muzzle conditioning for sure. Feel free to watch my videos.
Yeah.
We've had clients, to kind of jump ahead in their training because they just took what I taught them and then they're watching my videos and just applied it themselves, Because if I came back and like, hey Jesse, we watched your lesson 1s and we've been doing this and like we made some progress, I build off of where you're at. Okay. Now where you're at is we need to reteach things because the psychology behind the collar is not the same and it's not working. Okay. So if I see you and you're like, hey Jesse, we did your healing videos and stuff and we feel like our reactivity is 80% better, then I try to help you find that 20%. And then we build off of that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but other than that, definitely the muscle conditioning is the biggest one.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Are there any specific videos on the
You can ask Maria,
Okay.
and she can send you the link. We have a link on my. If you go to my website and you look under FAQ, you'll see training resources, and you click on that.
Yeah.
And it's just a bunch of stuff that we normally send people: e-collar videos, like how we find things fitting the collars, muscle conditioning videos, links to the collars that we use.
Yeah.
So that's all on the website.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Sounds
Right.
good.
Well, it was a pleasure meeting you guys. If anything
Yeah.
pops up, you let us know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, feel free to reach out to Maria, or she'll reach out to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds
Perfect.
good.
Thank you
so
guys
much.
Wait.